YouTube, welcome back to the channel. This is the DW Garage Project, and of course we got the Project D100 right here. So I did a lot of prep work yesterday off camera, and to get into the meat and potatoes of what I'm doing today, I'm going to fill in some cracks. So I'm going to get my phone out so I can take some video of that. So basically, I just went through, cleaned up the old repairs. I used the burr bit to grind out the cracks, give it a nice little groove. That way it gives it a little more penetration. Because this isn't the best welder in the world, but it gets the job done. Got some grooves on this side already done. I had to put relief holes on this one, because when they did the job before, they put relief holes over here, and they put them up here, and there was actually another crack developing, so I had to drill a new one. But they didn't put any relief holes on this one, so I put them in, and now I'm going to fill these in. As a matter of fact, I actually need to put one more relief hole right there. So let me get at it. Alright, so that's one down. I didn't think about doing any of the prep work on this side yesterday. I focused on this side when I was doing all my prep work mainly. But even though it's a 110 volt welder at 140 amps, if you get the settings right, you can do 3/16 steel, no problem. I am by no means a professional welder, but about 15 years ago I did work in a welding shop and MIG weld together a bunch of, what do you call them? They're like ladder trailers for the ranchers. So, now let's get this side stitched up. good looking welds. It's also pretty important not to make one continuous bead and load up the area with too much heat. Come back and finish the rest later, move on to a different spot. Usually pretty good practice. Yeah, so check that out. It's not too shabby. And then just kind of, sweep it as you're going along, and it'll contact all the bare metal that you ground out. That's a pretty good way of filling in the valley that you dug out, repairing your cracks. And then of course, I want to weld in this brace right here. Bolt it in and then weld it. And that'll keep the front end nice and rigid. That way it doesn't have any opportunity to start sliding and extra stresses make it crack again. Never do this with safety squints. Safety glasses every time. The reason why I'm grinding that down and the same on this side in the same spot, because that cross member has to fit in there, and they won't fit in there with those welds right where the bolt holes are. And of course, I've already got these shaved off because I'm redesigning the front suspension geometry a little bit, and that'll be on an upcoming video. I actually found some locking nuts, so that's perfect. I'm going to put a couple of stitches perpendicular. Alright, so now the cross member is in. It's bolted in, 4 points on each side. And then I welded perpendicular to the chassis. I even got up in there a little bit on each side. So that should be nice and solid now, and to test that, I'm going to put my steering box back on. It's my cool little invention here. It's got a one-way sprag style bearing for 1/4 inch. Lets you hold it steady, and it's adjustable. Look at that. No more flexing. It is completely solid. It'll be on my filming camera too. No more flexing. That's the important thing. So that's my first major goal down. Getting the frame repaired, getting that cross member welded in, bolted in, making it stiff. So the last thing I want to do now is actually weld this brace in, because before with it bolted in, it would flex at those points too. So I'll do some perpendicular welds underneath, and that should do it. Yep. Oh. Come down. It helps to remember turning the gas back on. Well, that's all the welding for this video. Got it braced to the chassis there, a little stitch there, a little stitch there, 2 little stitches down there, and I got a stitch right here and 2 on the underneath. So now the front is rock solid. Now that the steering is in, I think what I'm going to want to do now is getting these located, tacked in and welded in. So now that the front tension struts are gone, to hold my lower control arms, it's going to be something like this. And the best part is it's completely adjustable. So I can actually adjust caster from the lower control arm as well, not just from the upper control arm. That way if there's any variation in the suspension, it can be measured and make it even. Anything to help this thing sail down the drag strip a little straighter. Alright. I think I know how I'm gonna finish this. So right now my only goal is to just get these located. I gotta come up with a brace for them later. Alright, so I got one side in place and the steering is full lock. Basically it's a hole through the frame with a bolt and a lock washer and nut. I need to build and fabricate a brace that can weld to this, what would you call it, like a spacer? Because I thought in my infinite wisdom 6, 7, 8 years ago when I bought all this stuff, I thought this would be going on this side. But now that I'm hands-on, what I actually needed was 2 of those on each side. But I figured with this large surface area, I'll be able to build a very beefy bracket that can weld onto this and then come back to the frame so that it's triangulated, and that'll make it nice and rigid without stressing the frame at that point right there. On the control arm, I'll pretty much do the same thing, but as you can see, we got lower control arms situated. No more tension struts. Alright, so I pretty much reached another stopping point. I can always put the other lower tension strut in. My adjustable tension struts, I guess you can call them. Put that in off camera some other time. So pretty much the next step, before anything, I need to address this right here. It looks like at some point someone tried to raise it with like a jack, some kind of jack, and they actually bent the frame, which is surprising. I don't know why they would want to lift it right in the middle. But after that gets fixed, pretty much the next point would be to remove the bed and degrease the chassis, power wash it one more time, and then blast it so that I can get the sealer on it. I want to use the KBS chassis black. I know I'm definitely going to use Raptor liner on the bottom of the cab. Now before this video ends, I'm going to give an update on the parts that I've been developing. So in the last video, I butchered the firewall to make it perfectly flat, and I got all the dimensions and measurements that I needed to get, and on my program I was able to get some rough drafts of what I needed to make. Pretty much at this point I just need to order them, my test pieces, and get them shipped here so I can test fit them. And my next one is the door panel. So basically it's going to delete the factory hinge. This hump will have to be cut out because it sticks out in order to make all this flush. I have an inner door panel that'll locate using these 3 bolts. This is cut out for it. I think I need to cut another piece out for this, so I'll add that to my file. And it's going to be the whole plate all the way across. So basically it'll re-bridge this and this. It'll anchor down with holes, with bolts that'll go into the holes all the way across. Some right here, and a couple right here. So it'll make all that inner structure solid once again. And then it's gonna mount some door handle mechanisms for, like, 55 to 60 Chevys, how they had the handles that would pull up like that. They kind of look like window cranks. So it's basically going to be a conversion where we convert the door panel and the inner door handles to, instead of like this style right here, it's going to be a handle you can grab and pull and swing. And then the outer door panel basically just replaces the plastic, and it'll be hot rod style, so it's going to be perfectly flat. And the neat thing with that is if you want basic aluminum panels, you can get that. If you want to add any designs to it or something, I won't be able to do that, but you'll have a nice solid bare panel to work with. Like if you wanted to take like a, I don't know, like a brush, I've seen them where they do like the little swirls where they put fish scales, and that's basically just brushing the aluminum with a circular scuff pad. You can also get it in wood or any other material, basically. Just gotta ask for it. You can upholster it, whatever you want to do. Well, that wraps up this episode. I pretty much got a major milestone knocked out by stiffening up and fixing all the cracks in the chassis. And like I said earlier, the next step is pretty much straightening out that bend in the chassis that I found earlier, and then getting it stripped down and prepped up for chassis coating. Once the chassis is coated, I have pretty much free reign to start getting the rest of the stuff going, such as making my fuel lines, brake lines. Then I can focus on getting my transmission rebuilt, get it painted, made it up to the engine, and then I can pretty much permanently install the engine and transmission into the chassis. After that, it'll be focusing on the cab, getting the cab fixed up so they can be placed on the chassis. Fenders, core support, and the bed can be last. There's going to be plenty of experiments, such as my dual catch can system with sealed catch cans, a Wagner Performance dual adjustable PVC valve. It's going to have some unique plumbing on that, and plenty of other things that I'm planning on buying for this truck. So stay tuned.